Jamaicans for Justice says it will take to the streets of the corporate area on April 29 to protest against what they say is police violence in the light of the rising number of police fatal shootings. 98 at the last count, well in excess of the number recorded for the corresponding period in 2024. I'll speak with one of JFJ's supporters. Also in the program today, we talk about Carnival in Jamaica, the economic impact last year and what the projections are for the festivities and the revelry this year. Lead story starts now on CVM TV. Carnival. My director says, Q, he thought I was stuck, but I wasn't stuck. I was just trying to calm myself down, take some medicament, as the former Speaker of the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, John Bercow, was famous for saying. So what we have in front of us here is a serious situation concerning Jamaicans for Justice and their planned demonstration, their planned protest on April 29 at the Halfway Tree Transport Centre, smack in the middle of Halfway Tree in St. Andrew, to protest against police violence with a rising number of police fatal killings. 98, they say we are on track, on course to exceed the 200 plus recorded in the worst year for police fatal killings. And they say it is necessary for concern to be registered and for like-minded citizens to join forces to demand that the police use force in a more judicious manner so that fewer Jamaicans are killed in so-called interactions, confrontations with the men and women who serve the security forces. Really and truly, what is the issue? Is it that bad? What are the numbers suggesting? What does Indicom have to say about the situation that we're facing now?
Things are heating up in the ring as the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the human rights advocacy group Jamaicans for Justice continue to disagree over the current policing methods being executed by the JCF. JFJ is set to lead a protest in response to what it describes as an alarming rise in fatal police shootings since the start of the year. The demonstration, scheduled for Tuesday, April 29 in Halfway Tree at the Transport Centre, comes on the heels of multiple police-involved fatalities. Some citizens have lauded the police while others call for police accountability. According to data released by the Independent Commission of Investigations, Indicom, there have been 98 fatal shootings by the security forces since the start of the year. This is 54 more than the corresponding period last year. So far, 17 people have been killed in the month of April. JFJ Executive Director Michael Jackson has been pushing for stronger oversight mechanisms, transparent investigations, and reforms in the use of force protocols. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF, while acknowledging the rise in fatalities, has maintained that officers continue to operate within the bounds of the law and face threats daily in the course of their duties. Still, critics argue that accountability remains elusive. Tuesday's protest is expected to draw participation from other civil society organizations, families of victims, and concerned citizens demanding justice and reform. The JCF has advised the members of the public that it will deploy officers to monitor the peaceful protest by the JFJ. We discuss on Lead Story.
The police are intending to police the planned protest against the police by JFJ and to offer protection for JFJ against any counter-protesters who are standing up for the police. Quite a conundrum, if you may. Let's take a break. When we come back, Father Sean Major Campbell.
your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. We've got everything, stocking top brands like CNCs, Philips, and Allen Bradley. We guarantee quality and reliability. Shop with us and save with even free island-wide delivery. Conditions apply. Visit us at Shop 8 Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in electrical business.
The world is changing and so should you. Diversify your career and get local and international certification in 2 to 6 months at Distinction College. Start online and face-to-face class in medical assistant, medical lab tech, pediatrics and psychiatric nursing, ECG tech, home attendant, hairdressing, makeup, meal tech, call center, supervisory and events planning management, cashiering, media broadcasting and travel tourism. Register this week and get free subjects and free courses. No subjects required, no age limits. Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, Oteris and St. Elizabeth. Call us at 876-356-4167.
Every child deserves a home filled with love. When hope meets heart, a new journey begins.
Welcome home, David.
Welcome, David. Make it your own.
Family is built on moments shared.
Go, David, yes!
Every smile and every shared moment connects us with a brighter future. Here, you're not just welcomed, you're family. Foster hope, foster love, foster a child today. Contact the CPFSA for more information.
What a fantastic advertisement from the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, we saw preceding this link to me. Of course, in the studio, I can't hear the advertisement, I can only see, and I've never heard the advertisement, I've only seen it. But just seeing it is powerful enough how a youngster seeking to assimilate into a family and the family doing what is necessary to make that child feel a part of it, not feel like an adoptee, but like an organic part of the family, and the appreciation of all concerned for the family coming together as one. Rather beautiful, and I encourage those of you who have the means to adopt a young Jamaican, to make them feel a part of the family and to safeguard their future against the perils of life. Powerful stuff. Anyways, I'm talking about JFJ, Jamaicans for Justice, and their planned protest set for April 29 at the Halfway Tree Transport Center in St. Andrew. And why are they protesting? Because they say the number of police fatal killings is too much. The number of Jamaicans cut down in interactions, confrontations with the security forces, unacceptably high, running at about 60, almost 60 above the number recorded up to this point in 2024. They're saying that it's unacceptable. We are hurtling JFJ towards over 200 police fatal killings in a calendar year, and they say that is untenable in any serious democracy. I've invited Father Sean Major Campbell to make the argument about why now is the right time for JFJ to be doing this against the background of a significant reduction in homicides quarter by quarter, January, February, March, April, first 4 months this year relative to the first 4 months last year, significantly down, even the year before that in 2023, and the numbers, major crime numbers heading in the right direction, and a growing feel-good factor around the work of the police by the citizenry. Why now must JFJ go on and ask the public to protest against the police and how they are going about their work? And Father Sean has consented kindly to make that argument on JFJ's behalf and those who support this move by JFJ set for next week, Tuesday. Good evening, Father Sean. Welcome again to Lead Story, sir. So good to have you here.
Good evening, Mr. Davis, and to listeners. It is good to be sharing with you again. It is important to note that anytime, every time is always the right time to amplify the voices of the victims of police violence, to amplify the voices of their families, of human rights advocates, of concerned citizens. Any time is the right time, because ever so often we fail to give voice to the weak and to the voiceless. And a part of what we are recognizing is that the poorest of the poor and the oppressed must be represented. They must be heard. And in an effort to accomplish this, we are trying to push for urgent reforms in policing and Jamaica's justice system. It is worthy of note that when we talk about amplifying their voices, some of those voices may very well be even police themselves, who may be victims of the system. So the truth is, it is about justice for one, justice for all.
So let me ask you.
And the call that we are making, or the calls that we are making, the demands that we are making, in any fair and democratic society, people should want this. End the police violence, increased deployment and mandatory use of body-worn cameras, and most importantly, accountability, transparency, and human rights approach in policing practices.
Hear you on that. So let me ask you this then, Father Sean. So many things to go with. I'm going to set aside the issue of the reform of the police that you've said is necessary. We're going to come to that. But let me take this one on first. How should Jamaica accept that this call by JFJ and its supporters and sympathizers is genuine and necessary at this time when the public sees many videos of unarmed civilians refusing to cooperate with the police, defying instructions and orders of the police, same unarmed civilians confronting the police physically, even in situations where they are alone and the police are numerous? So 4 or 5 police personnel, one of the police team trying to give instructions and orders to that one civilian, and that one civilian unarmed, still willing to grapple and fight with the police. And the public says, well, if that happens, why are we to not expect that an armed civilian who is perhaps a criminal or a criminal suspect at best, why would they not raise those arms against the police? So why should we be concerned if the police cut down that said individual in an armed confrontation? So I've given you the context in which many Jamaicans are thinking, which is why they believe that JFJ ought not to be doing this at this point. So I'm putting that to you for your response.
Yes, I believe it is perfectly understandable that anyone would expect in an armed situation that the police would defend themselves. It seems to me that we are living in a society where people are extremely defensive and extremely given to violent conflicts and quickly resorting to conflicts. We see that in families, in the school system, where people quickly resort to corporal punishment and so forth. So we do have a violence problem in our society. However, it must be cause for concern when within a year, police fatal killings can jump by like our 123% increase.
Yes.
It has to be cause for concern.
But hold on, Father Sean. But I hear you on that. I hear you on that. But some
even
people,
if the killings are legitimate.
Yeah, but hold on now. Some people will say to you that, Father Sean, the reason that there has been a significant increase in the number of fatal confrontations between the police and the civilians is this: the police's intelligence gathering mechanism turbocharged by the technology at the disposal of the police, can tell them where armed men are, and when they go to those armed men and say, come out with your hands on your head, or whatever the instruction is, these armed men will fire. And so when you have more of these interactions driven by better intelligence by the police and more operations to go for armed men who are criminal suspects, you're going to have the numbers you're having. It's perfectly logical. What about that argument?
Again, the police has every right to defend itself. What would be lovely when that argument is being proffered is if the body-worn cameras are also at work. It's important to note, we have never suggested that the police are resistant to body-worn cameras. Our position is that while some measure of rollout has begun, there is critical need for clear timelines regarding infrastructure, regarding training, regarding mandatory enforcement and usage policies. But body-worn cameras will help in making the argument for the police. We can all be clear when that is happening.
Yes. I hear you on that. Hold that point. I've got to take the break and come right back. This is Lead Story, speaking with Father Sean Major Campbell, consequent upon that planned protest by Jamaicans for Justice on April 29 against police violence in light of the rising number of police fatal shootings, civilians, almost 100 of them killed in confrontations with the police since January 1 this year.
Join my private room. Only $1,000 for a grand time.
That I know me. We never said that. But who going to believe me?
That is correct. $4,350,000. Yes, go ahead. $4 million? I never approved that.
Yes, me I go doctor tomorrow. So me have to get the money today, no longer. Then no me face that. We never make no record or beg nobody no money.
Deepfakes are AI-generated images and videos made to look and sound like people we know and trust. They're used to spread misinformation, destroy reputations, and are used to commit fraud and scams. Don't fall victim to deepfakes. Protect yourself. For more information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or scan the QR code on screen.
So you would have take a call while crossing a busy street? You would have zoned out while driving through Alpha Tree? I know say you definitely would have sent a text while climbing down River Falls. So why you do it when you across the road? Stay alert, man. Every step matters. Pedestrians, look out before you step out. A message from the Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport.
Welcome back to Lead Story, speaking with Father Sean Major Campbell. The Jamaicans for Justice planning their protest on April 29 against police violence, given the rising number of police fatal shootings. Father Sean, many people will say a part of the problem that JFJ has is the lack of data to really support their protest at this time. Because they'll say, look, yes, we know that the record shows 98 police fatal killings since January 1, but JFJ has not said to the nation that 43 of those fatal shootings, in 43 of those fatal incidents, the person killed had no weapon. Or in 52 of those fatal shootings, the person killed had no firearm. All JFJ says is that the fact that the number is significantly higher than it was in the corresponding period in 2024, there is a problem sufficient for us to take to the streets and protest. I'm putting to you, Father Sean, that the JFJ argument needs the kind of supporting data that so many members of the public are calling for. What say you?
I agree with you. So, for example, since 2019, Jamaica has seen 5 consecutive years of increases in fatal shootings by security forces. We also know over the years from the work we have done and from some of the, even some locations where we would turn up ourselves, we knew by the research done and the evidence presented that individuals were killed although they were in defenseless positions. And as we talk about figures, we want to remember that figures are not just numbers because they represent human lives.
Yes, most important.
Poor, voiceless people.
Yes, most important, yes. Yes.
And often they just go like that without any accountability and without any justice.
Yes, but
and
you see,
in a civilized society and a small island like ours,
yes,
we should be concerned.
But the concern, Father Sean, on the other side of the ledger, if we're doing it in accounting style, people will tell you that, look, not in a long time has the public felt as if the police are even ahead of the criminals, if not in step with them in the worst case scenario. And that the reduction in murders and homicides, it's not 1 quarter, it's not 1 month over 1 month, it's year over year consecutively. It's the low, up to February this year, we had recorded the fewest number of homicides in the period between January 1 and that review point in February in the last 20 years. So people in the citizenry are saying, then why if the police are having these good results, doing what they're doing and the way they're doing it, why is there cause for complaint? Why shouldn't we be asked? Why shouldn't we be asked to look critically, not critiquing? Why shouldn't we be asked to look critically and perhaps suspiciously at the work of the police in this context?
We must always look critically at the loss of lives, especially when the balance of power and responsibility lies with the state and lies with the one that holds more power. Very important.
Yeah. I'm almost out of time. I have to ask you this. When you speak about reform of the police, Father Sean, isn't that just throwing a comment out there for throwing its sake? Because guess what? This Jamaica Constabulary Force has undergone tremendous reformation from the time of Francis Forbes through to this point of Dr. Kevin Blake and the intervening and the police commissioners in between in terms of the resources spent, the allocation of resources, the oversight inside and outside.
Yeah.
Isn't the reform process alive and well, and you can see the results in the greater professionalism in the force? So why say that reform is needed? I don't understand that.
And all that is correct, but is it too much to ask that timelines are set for full body-worn camera infrastructure?
But that alone can't be a strike against reformation, Father Sean.
No, I'm answering. I'm responding.
Yes.
Is it too much to ask that there is action for the long-promised Constabulary Force Act reform? Is it too much to ask for improved working conditions and salaries for officers? Is it too much to ask for transparency in disciplinary processes? Is it too much to ask for publication of force orders? And guess what? There are many police officers who actually agree with what I'm saying to you right now, but they can't talk it out loud.
Hear you on that.
And there are working conditions that need help.
Have no doubt about that. I have to run because there's somebody I need to give a few minutes to, the last few minutes of the program, Father Sean. Very much thank you as well, as usual, and look forward to seeing you next week, Tuesday, out there with the troops. Hear you on that. Father Sean, Major Campbell, member of the Jamaica's for Justice. Turning now quickly to chairman of the Tourism Linkages Sport and Entertainment Network and co-chairman of the Carnival in Jamaica Stakeholders Committee, moving from a clergyman to Kamal Banki. It's what we do on a program because we have to. Kamal, good evening. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man, I had to give you the last few minutes. So, Kamal, we heard the numbers that yourself and the tourism minister presented about the success of Jamaica Carnival 2024. What are you, what have you accommodated for? What have you budgeted for? What are you expecting for the 2025 iteration?
From all accounts, and this is from hotels, this is from, flight projections, as well as the bands and feds. everybody is kind of trending that this year will be bigger than last year. The actual number is yet to be seen, but we're in the middle of the week now, and as indicated, the early projections look like about a 10% growth year on year between last year and this year, which would make this one of the biggest carnivals we've ever had in Jamaica, since Carnival in Jamaica had started in 2016. So for us, we're very, very excited. And just to clarify, Carnival in Jamaica is a marketing brand of the Ministry of Tourism. Of course, there were individual events and brands and fetes and bands that occurred before that, like a Bacchanal and a Jamaica Carnival. But Carnival in Jamaica, since its inception in 2016, has been the marketing brand name for the umbrella activity of the Carnival season, happening between Holy Thursday and, of course, Carnival Sunday, which is about 12 days after.
Thank you for that clarification. So, Kamal, how are our friends in the Airbnb sector doing? Are they telling you that they're fully booked?
Well, I'll tell you, our revelers are complaining that they can't find Airbnbs. So, it's a good and bad thing. It's a double-edged sword. The hotels are full, the Airbnbs are scanty. So it's obviously a huge demand, and we're very, very happy that, Carnival is alive and well here in Jamaica.
With a 10% projected growth, can you ensure that all stakeholders are happy? I know it's a strange question to ask, but there's a thing called serviceable capacity that as a businessman you'll know about. If you get too big, the thing is of a nature that people are dissatisfied with what they're able to get from the entertainment package. But at 10% growth, are the structures in place so that everybody, stakeholders, those who are reveling, that they can get maximum enjoyment over what they're about to partake in come Sunday?
Absolutely. So the reality is that a 10% growth is a nice gradual growth trajectory. Things like 50% growth, 100% growth, those would put big shocks on, the system. And, we saw those in our, growing pain years where, when we launched in 2016, our Carnival Road Parade was somewhere in the region of about 2,000 revelers on the road. And the following year, it was double that. And then, we had a lot of those growing pains where traffic management needed to be addressed. The restaurants and bars didn't have the capacity and were running out of, food sometimes, or, your favorite fast food joint or whatever didn't have what you came there to get. The rent-a-car companies didn't have all the cars that they needed. But, we had stakeholder meetings and consultations over the past 9 years since we've been doing this, even during COVID, so that we could regain our footing where we left off after that. And I think everybody understands that it's pulling together towards one common goal, because the benefit is not just to individual stakeholders, but to the city of Kingston, the cities of, Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, where people are flying into and staying sometimes, for the season, and then coming up for certain events.
Yeah.
And that's what we see, that everybody is benefiting.
Yes.
And everybody loves what the product is.
Yes.
And we hope that we continue to grow.
I'm being chased out of studio. Kamal Banky, thank you very much, and I look forward to going over the post-mortem with you in a few weeks and months.
Looking forward to a safe Carnival. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kamal Banky there, co-chairman of the Tourism Linkages, Sport and Entertainment Network, and co-chairman of the Carnival in Jamaica Stakeholders Committee. It's getting hot in the studio. Maybe it's because Nika Lewis just walked in to present the news at 7.